Now, if you're asking me, do I use an iPhone? Do I use an Android phone? Do I, post on Facebook? Do I have all Google's crap everywhere? The answer, of course, is no. I try to limit the reach these systems have in my life to the maximum extent that's possible. I also recognize that for some things there are no alternatives. What you have to do is create the minimum possible surface area. From a technical sense, we could go very deep here, but the foremost problem, I think, with basically tracking people today via mobile devices and things like that, is all of the network communications that those devices are making, that your device is making right now as you look at it, are invisible to you. You think you're watching, a YouTube video or listening to a podcast or whatever, but then you finish and you put the phone down. The screen is off. It's just sitting on the charger or whatever. It's still communicating. It's communicating with an enormous frequency. A lot of apps are connected in the background. They're reporting not just a single person. When you're watching YouTube, it's not just going to Google. It's not just going to YouTube. It's not just going to Facebook. It's going to all of these different companies that have embedded tracking code in all of the dumbest apps on your phone, from big to small. Instagram obviously is a tracking nightmare, but so is your weather app. So is your calculator. So is any kind of little shim they can get into your device. And here's the beautiful part of all of that.
Only on becoming
Let's say you install every app from your phone. You just open up that sort of app drawer and there's nothing in it. It's a beautiful, clean background image. So long as that phone is on, even if you turn off location services, even if you turn off GPS, it is still tracking your location every minute of the day that you have it with you. By virtue of the way the cell phone network works, you're connected to the nearest cell phone tower, right? That tower registers the location of your phone's handset, your phone's SIM card, which holds your phone number. Your phone number is, of course, related to your billing information. Even if you've got no other information on your phone, now that telecommunications company has that. They store those records in perpetuity, basically. AT&T in the United States, one of our largest telecommunications providers, saves your calling records, right? Going back to 1987. People might go, oh, well, it's my calling records, whatever, but that's more than most people's lifetimes that are, watching something like this. And then your movements, the sort of tower locations that you were connected to. AT&T holds that going back to 2008. They got, 12, 13 years of your movements, right? In perfect precision. What are the other phone companies doing? And, you look in the UK, for example, they've got the Snoopers Charter, which is one of the most extreme surveillance bills, the most extreme surveillance bill in the history of Western democracy. And just in the last months, the Home Office has been exposed as collecting everybody secretly. Everybody's out there at these internet service providers. Their internet connection records, right? Well, that's effectively your browsing history. Even if they don't see the sub page that you're looking at, say you go to a newspaper site, they don't necessarily see which article you downloaded if it was encrypted. They see where you read your news. They see which parties' websites you're connected to. They see your partisan slants, they see where you shop, they see your literary interests. They call this bulk collection, and they say that's not the same as mass surveillance. But I think we know better. The idea that the bad guys are at a pizza parlor, you can kick in the door and flush them out, right? You just need to burn down that tower that's at the end of your block and everything will be better. That's a world that's more attractive. The greatest conspiracies are open and notorious. They're not theories, but practices expressed through law and policy and systems of government, technology, finance, right? Conspirators, more often than not, they announce their intentions. They're reported all over the place. They're in our newspapers. They're bannered on the covers of magazines. We get updates on their progress. Bulletined on the bottom of chyrons on news feeds, right? With so much regularity that we become inured to it. This leaves us sort of unable to relate the banality of the methods of their conspiracy to the rapacity of their ambitions. They say, you'll own nothing and you'll be happy.
Only on becoming supernatural.
And that's staggering at the time. But 10 years from now, 20 years from now, when you own nothing and are unhappy, right? But when you just scope out and look at the concept of these everyday conspiracies, the large, impactful conspiracies, the prime interest rate has changed. A new free service has been created to host our personal files. These conspiracies order and disorder our lives, and yet they can't compete for attention with Twitter and Facebook. The truest conspiracies meet with the least opposition. Or to put it in a different way, conspiracy practices the proven conspiracy, the true conspiracy, such as gerrymandering or the debt industry or mass surveillance, are almost always usurped by conspiracy theories. We need to be careful because some things that are termed as conspiracy theories are in fact true. Mass surveillance, famously for the longest time, was referred to as a conspiracy theory. There is space for both. Conspiracy theory can be seen as a kind of parody. Conspiracy theory can be seen as a kind of gaming out where the public's vulnerabilities are a reflection of our fears. When I was working for the NSA, right, I was involved in this system that was intended to access and track the communications of every man, woman, and child on Earth to the maximum extent possible, and for that to happen in secret, right? Is there anything more grand and conspiratorial? And it took me a really long time to extricate myself from that. And the funny thing is, because of the manner in which I extricated myself from that, I became the subject of conspiracy theories. People say I'm a Russian agent. People say I'm a Chinese agent, right? There are conspiracies all the way down. I do ask myself, what drives this? Where does this urge come from? Is the existence of global mass surveillance not enough for you people? Does there have to be another level to it, right? For example, the banking industry is going to war on savers, just sacrificing anybody who saved any money in order to avoid the debt collapse of all the governments that have overborrowed and all the companies that have overborrowed, and basically indentured the current growing generation, the youngest of the audience today that's watching this. Those people are intentionally, knowingly, willfully being screwed because of all of the political cowardice and poor decisions that said, we don't want to face any hardship today, so we're going to put that on the shoulders tomorrow. Often we talk about conspiracy theories in order to avoid talking about proven conspiracies, which are often too daunting, too threatening, and really too total. For example, something like the war on terror in the United States, which is the greatest mistake of my generation, right? We're still in Afghanistan. Famously, Biden said in 2012 that we'll be out of Afghanistan by 2014. Well, now it's 2021 and he's saying we need more time, we need to think this through. When you live in that kind of world, the idea that the bad guys are at a pizza parlor, you can kick in the door and flush them out, right? You just need to burn down that tower that's at the end of your block and everything will be better. That's a world that's more attractive because you have identifiable figures who are responsible for your plight, and you have the ability to sort of push them out of the way and correct things. If only you guys would come together. But the funny thing is, if we do come together, we can unwind all of these plights we face, even the extraordinary ones, but it takes focus and sustained attention on problems that are intentionally made abstract and boring by these people that are holding conferences at Davos, right? It is exciting and visceral to think about satanic rituals. Nobody gets hot thinking about the interest rate.
Help by spreading this message. Share with your friends, leave a like and subscribe if you haven't done so already. Turn on notifications to stay updated.